Ugh, I just got a calendar invite for a 2-hour meeting this afternoon. 2 hours! What could we possibly talk about for 2 hours? That's longer than most high school relationships. Have you ever sat through a team meeting and thought it was a total waste of time?
All the time!
Yeah, me too. But guess what? Meetings don't have to be the workplace equivalent of a root canal. No! Meetings have the potential to be really powerful and productive if you do them right. And in this video, I'm going to give you my 6 tips on how to run your next meeting like a master facilitator. Let's get into it. Did you know that the Harvard Business Review found that 71% of senior managers view meetings as unproductive? And they're usually the ones running those meetings. The other 29% were probably too busy thinking about lunch to actually answer the survey. That's a lot of wasted time, potential, and coffee. The same HBR study also found that business executives spend around 23 hours a week in just meetings. Compare that to the 1960s when they spent only on average 10 hours per week. All right, team, let's wrap this up so I can quickly get back to my office and roll back in my chair. It's the only exercise I get between all these cigarette breaks. You know, because they used to smoke in the offices back in the 1960s. Anyways, you know, most of these meetings probably could have been an email. We have to change things because far too many people hold poor meetings. Let me show you how to hold a team meeting that's so engaging that your team might actually look forward to it. I know that's a big stretch, but starting with tip number 1, which is to set the stage. Why are we having a meeting? What's the purpose of this meeting? Every meeting must have a central theme, a central purpose, a central point. As Simon Sinek says, start with why. Are you brainstorming? Are you making decisions? Or are you just touching base as the purpose of this meeting? Be crystal clear about this when you send out that initial invite. Having a clear purpose for the meeting will also help you ensure that you are inviting the right people to that meeting. Don't ever invite more people than you absolutely need to. And now that you've clearly stated your reasons for hosting the meeting and invited the right people to it, the next step is to create an agenda ahead of time, which is tip number 2. Don't wing it. I know some of you might be really good at riffing in the moment, but many people aren't. Creating an agenda for a meeting is crucial. It's like telling your GPS exactly where you want to go. Otherwise, you're just driving around aimlessly, wondering why you keep ending up at the exact same Starbucks.
Well, that never happened to me.
Oh, no, that's just me? Never mind. Also, running a meeting without an agenda will waste time and reduce the chance that people will show up to the meeting prepared. Introverts shine when they have a chance to prepare beforehand. A meeting without an agenda is like a road trip without GPS. You might have fun on that road trip, but you'll probably get lost. Spend a few minutes to jot down some key sections of the meeting and add time blocks for each section if possible as well. Research shows that agendas in meetings can improve the meeting productivity by 20%. Keep it concise, keep it focused, and distribute that agenda beforehand so that everyone has a chance to come prepared. Now that you've prepped, it's time to get into the actual meeting, which is tip number 3, and that is time management. I was once hired to help a small business get their team back on track. In prep for my full day strategy session with them, I shadowed the managers for the day before to get a sense of how the team is currently operating. And even though I was only with them for 1 day, I gained 4 interesting insights into what keeps meetings on track versus just going off rails. The first insight I gained was that they always want to start on time. If we start our meetings late, we're training our people that it's okay to be late because it always starts late. But if we start our meetings on time, we're training our people to be on time because it always starts on time. Either way, we're training our people. So even if half the room isn't there, start your meeting on time. It might be rough for those first few meetings because your team has to be retrained that you start meetings on time. Insight number 2, odd meeting times. Managers who set odd meeting times like 10:10 or 11:50 seem to start on time more than managers that did regular meeting times. Nothing says we mean business like starting a meeting on time that looks like a football formation. 10-10, blue, blue, set, hike.
Do you even watch football?
Insight number 3, time driver. Someone, usually the leader of the meeting, needs to keep track of the time between each section of the meeting. If no one is the time driver for the meetings always ran long in this company. But when there was a time driver, let's keep on track, they usually ended on time. Speaking of ending on time, insight number 4 is ending on time. The most productive meetings I sat through ended on time. And while my data for this claim is qualitative based on my own experience, I saw it happen time and time again in the meetings. Something about being aware of how much time is left caused the people to be more effective during the meeting. Quick side tangent. I have this idea to create an app called How Much Does This Meeting Cost?
Good idea.
Where everyone in the meeting anonymously submits their salary to the app.
Interesting.
And then as the meeting progresses, the app slowly ticks up how much money it's costing to keep this meeting running minute by minute. I bet the managers would speed things up real fast. If you build this, please send me 1% of all royalties.
I'm sure I will.
Anyways, by now, I hope I've drilled enough about the value of time management during the meetings. So let's move on to the next tip, which is tip number 4, and it's all about engagement. You invited these people to the meeting, so if they just sit there and don't participate, then why did you invite them in the first place? Also, by not hearing from everyone in the room, you're missing out on hearing a diverse set of perspectives, which can bring fresh new ideas. If your people aren't participating in the meeting, here are 3 suggestions I have for you to increase that engagement. Number 1, model great engagement yourself. Your team will never show a higher level of engagement than you. Nothing screams, I'm not interested, like nodding your head while discreetly checking your football scores under the table. Oh, my football team is winning and making progress, which is more than happening in this meeting right here. You have to lead by example. Show your team what active engagement looks like. Listen attentively, ask insightful questions, and provide thoughtful feedback. Create a welcoming atmosphere where everyone feels comfortable sharing their idea. A really quick way to shut down a conversation is to make fun of someone for sharing their idea. Acknowledge contributions and show genuine interest in what others have to say. Tip number 2, engage the introverts. Recognize that not everyone is comfortable speaking up in a group setting. In fact, 1/3 of society are introverts. So create an inclusive environment where introverts feel valued and heard. Use techniques like think, pair, share, where individuals first think about the questions on their own, then they discuss it with a partner, then they share it in the large group. This kind of approach gives introverts time to formulate their thoughts.
Good idea.
You can also directly but respectfully invite input from the quieter members. Sometimes a simple, hey, I'd love to hear your thoughts, Randy, can encourage participation without putting someone on the spot or forcing them to do so. Tip number 3, include energizers. Sometimes people just need a state change because their energy is low. Or they just ate a heavy meatloaf lunch and it's sitting like a brick in their stomach. Oh, I'm so full from lunch. Keep the energy high with short, relevant energizer activities. This can be as simple as a quick stretch break or a fun on-topic get-to-know-you question that involves some sort of physical movement. If your people aren't engaged, you can yell at them all day long. Good luck with that. Or you can change yourself and the meeting setup to make engagement much easier and more enjoyable. Engagement isn't just about speaking up. It's about creating a space where everyone feels that their input is valued and contributes to the meeting's objectives. So by modeling engagement, including all personality types and incorporating those energizers, you can create an atmosphere where everyone is motivated to participate actively. A highly engaged team will produce a great meeting, which leads us nicely to tip number 5, which is to have a clear action plan. As the meeting progresses, it's natural that things are gonna come up that people have to take action on after the meeting. As these tasks come up, make sure you clearly state the action item, when it's due, and who's responsible for completing it before moving on with anything else. This process will probably happen several times throughout the meeting, but don't let an action item go by without it being clearly stated and assigned. Otherwise, it just won't get done. Without a clear action plan, meeting conclusions are like New Year's resolutions. They're forgotten the moment the cookie tray is passed around. Oh, don't mind if I do. This brings us to the end of your meeting, but we aren't quite done yet because there's one more tip. Tip number 6, which is to follow up and follow through. A meeting's success can often be judged by what happens after it ends. Here are 2 things to do before you leave the meeting to make sure you follow up and follow through. Number 1, if needed, schedule a follow-up meeting before the meeting ends. Let me remind you, before the meeting ends. Once people go back to their daily schedule, you'll have to work 4 times as hard to set a date for the next meeting than you would if you did it right there in the room. Just make sure you do this at the end of the meeting, because once people open up their phones or their laptops, they are bound to be overloaded with messages and missed calls and pings and alerts and notifications, and you'll completely lose their attention. This is great, look at all these messages. Oh my God, I'm so popular, I'm so famous, this is great. Why do you have so many devices, Tom? Great question. Number 2, set a date for follow-up on action items. This ensures accountability and keeps everyone on track. Remember, follow through is just as important as the meeting itself. Have someone restate the specific tasks that I talked about in tip number 5 that need to be accomplished. What is it? When does it need to be done? And who's responsible for it? This way, everyone leaves knowing exactly what needs to be done and who's doing it and when it needs to be done. And there you have it. Now you know what to do to run an effective and efficient meeting. And because I know some of you were ordering lunch while also trying to listen to this video,
how did you know?
Here's a quick recap of the main points to running a successful meeting. Number 1, set a clear purpose. Determine and communicate the why of your meeting, ensuring that it has a focused objective. Number 2, craft a focused agenda. Organize the flow of the meeting with a well-structured agenda to keep the discussions on track. Number 3, respect the time. Start and end on time. Manage the duration of the discussions, and perhaps even try some of those offbeat meeting times to create punctuality. Number 4, engage your team. Encourage active participation. Include everyone in the conversation, especially introverts, and use energizers to keep the energy up. Number 5, follow up and follow through. Make sure action items are assigned and followed up on, and if necessary, schedule the next meeting right then and there, and don't wait till afterwards. By mastering these elements, your meetings can transform from time sinks to productive, enjoyable decision-making sessions. Now, take these tips, run a meeting that's effective, engaging, and probably even fun. Go on and make me proud. So busy, so busy. If you like this video, you should check out all of our videos on how you can better engage and retain your people. Speaking of which, my name is Tom. I'm here to help you to engage people on your dance floor. I'll see you in the next video.